Okay. Good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Tarrant County, I would like to welcome you to this candidate forum for Saginaw City Council, places 4 and 6. I am Mary Beth Garcia. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization which works to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation of all citizens in their government. The League of Women Voters does not support or oppose any political party or any candidate. Out of respect for everyone here this evening, we ask that all cell phones be silenced. Video or audio recording of this forum by the audience is not allowed. Professional recordings may be posted. However, the proceedings must be posted in their entirety without editing. Candidates may not use any portion of the recordings for political advertisements. The City of Saginaw is recording this forum, and it will be posted in its entirety on the city website. Questions to the candidates may be written on cards available at the entrance. If you have a card, please bring it to me at the podium. Verbal questions from the audience will not be entertained, and we ask that the audience refrain from applauding until candidates have finished their closing remarks. Tonight's event is a forum. It is not a debate, which means that each candidate will be asked questions pertaining to policies and positions, and their answers will be confined to their positions. Candidates may not address questions or remarks to other candidates and must refrain from personal remarks. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement, 1 minute to answer each question, and 3 minutes for a closing statement. Our timekeeper this evening is League member Erin Merkel. The timekeeper will signal with a yellow card 30 seconds before the allotted time is up, and with a red card when time is up. In fairness to all, we ask that these limits be respected. At this time, I'd like to introduce the candidates. For place 4, we have Brack St. Clair and Randy Edwards, who is not present tonight. For place 6, we have Mary Copeland and Rick Russell. Since Mr. St. Clair's opponent has not shown up tonight, Mr. St. Clair will be given 5 minutes to speak on policies and positions, but unfortunately will not be able to answer any questions from the audience during this time. He will be available afterwards to answer any of your questions. So at this time, Mr. St. Clair, I'd like to start with you.
Thank you. Is this on? Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, my name is Brack St. Clair, and I am running for Saginaw City Council, place 4. I have been in the city since 2009. We purchased our first house, me and my wife did, and my 2 kids have grown up in the same house all the way through. So, and it's my hope that they can continue to grow up in the city that I love, my wife loves, and that we can.
Speak louder.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just have to hold the mic like right on. So, one of the things that really appeals to me about Saginaw is the fact that we have fairly low property taxes, especially in comparison to the cities surrounding us. And if I were elected to city council, I would want to maintain that, to keep property taxes low. And in the face of rising costs and inflation, with a competitive marketplace for employees, we need to focus on the revenue streams that are not including property taxes. We need to maximize the sales tax. We need to work on the hotel and motel tax and bringing in events in the city that promote commercial revenue to come into the city. And that would be one of my goals as a council member. We need to take care of our employees, the city employees, and attract new quality employees. We need to make sure that our fire department and our police department, public works, that those departments are fully staffed and that they can attend to the needs of the community in a way that is good for the families who live here. We need to work with developers so that we can improve the infrastructure prior to those new construction being built, so that we make sure that we have the capacity to handle the new growth that's coming in. We need to revitalize the aging parts of the city through smart city-initiated rezoning of land, updating the zoning to a more modern structure that's focused on low density but high revenue. These things are very important. I'm pretty passionate about that, and that's what I want to see. And I think that there's a lot of people in the city that would like to see the same things. I want to expand our park system by creating trail systems that connect the different parts of the city, making areas more walkable and enjoyable. I want to maintain as much of the nature as we can. I don't want it to all be completely built out with commercial businesses and apartments and single-family homes. I want some open areas too, so that we can enjoy the outdoors. I've served the citizens of Saginaw on the Parks Board since 2012, and would like to continue to serve the people of Saginaw as a council member. So please vote for me on May 6th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. St. Clair. Okay, next we have Ms. Copeland, who will be given 2 minutes for her opening statement.
Okay, can you hear me? First of all, thank you all for coming out tonight. And I'd like to thank the Tarrant County League of Women Voters for setting this up for us and hosting it. My name is Mary Copeland. I have been on the Saginaw City Council for 6 years. I'm running for re-election in place 6. In addition to the 6 years that I have served on the City Council, I have more than 20 years experience in city government in another North Tarrant County city that I lived in before I moved to Saginaw 17 years ago. And in that city I was on the Animal Control Board, the Charter Review Commission, and I was on Planning and Zoning for 14 years. The last year of Planning and Zoning, I was the acting chairman. So I think that experience and that knowledge makes me a good city council member and allows me to be an effective member of the city council. In the 6 years that I've been on city council, there have been many wonderful enhancements to the quality of life that our residents enjoy. Some of those have been the All Abilities Playground, the food truck park, the farmers market. We've also experienced a lot of awards and accolades over the years that I've been on. And in my last 3-minute speech, since I'm almost out of time, I will talk about some of those. Thank you.
Mr. Russell.
Thank you. First, I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum. I'd also like Like I said, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum this evening. I'd also like to thank the voters that are sitting in the audience today, and especially my family that are in attendance. We moved to Saginaw 29 years ago. we looked around the Fort Worth Metroplex and we chose Saginaw for its small town feel and the neighbors and the people. I've served on the Planning and Zoning Committee. I've served on the Board of Adjustments, the Bond Committee, the Charter Committee when we rewrote the city's charter, and also I'm currently the chair of the Library Board. The Saginaw Success Committee was very valuable to me because it gave the city, the leaders of the city, the inputs from all the citizens of what we thought we wanted, what we wanted to see, and what we would pay for. So that was very valuable at being a member of that board. I'm a Marine Corps veteran and a retired IBM executive of 29 years at IBM. In IBM, I worked with Fortune 100 companies and state and local governments. So we provided solutions to the state and local governments, just like the city of Saginaw, to bring them solutions and return on investments for the taxpayers' money. I'm invested in Saginaw and want to see a positive outcome for our city. I'm running for city council because my background brings the necessary skills to be a proactive and informed member of the Saginaw City Council. Thank you.
The first question, Ms. Copeland, will go to you. Do you support the new library and senior center being built?
%. I was so happy that our residents did vote for that bond election that would allow us. The library was woefully cramped in space. Our Saginaw Senior Center, the old log cabin building, actually became, during the pandemic, it became obvious that it was really uninhabitable. The rec center has been so good in letting the seniors use parts of the rec center for their activities. So I'm just very pleased about that.
Mr. Russell?
Well, since I was the chair of the current chair of the library board, I absolutely was, and I'm a senior citizen, so that's 100% as well. Our programs at the library, thanks to our librarian Ellen, who happens to be here in the audience, our success in growing those programs has been incredible. We've had to move outside, we've had to move to different locations, and even we're threatened with we'd have to turn children away. So building the new library is critical for that. And the Senior Citizen Center, it's the same thing. I go to the exercise class, there's no elbow room. So yes, I'm 100% for it.
Okay. Next question, Mr. Russell, you're going to answer first. What is your plan to increase transparency in the city's budget?
What I would like to see with the city's budget is open accounting that any citizen in the city of Saginaw can see. They can see where we're spending our money, what we're spending our money on, when, and where. So some cities have actually put their checkbook online so that the citizens can see where that money's going. And I would advocate this. I think the citizens need to know where we're spending the money and how.
Ms. Copeland?
Those are great suggestions. We do start publicly talking about the budget in our public city council meetings, usually in March or April. They're all open to the public. We have public hearings. Maybe some of you citizens out there could encourage your neighbors or yourselves to sign up for a garage gab specifically for the purpose of discussing the budget. And I would support any unique ideas to get that information out there to the public.
Next question, Ms. Copeland, you're going to answer first. What are your concerns as the city of Saginaw grows?
Growth does bring some issues. As as is mentioned often, you can't stop growth. So what you want to do is plan effectively for that growth. We will have some times that are difficult to get through with new construction, etc., but the outcome will be something that's worthwhile. We now usually do have developers take part in the infrastructure and the expense of that. So it is a balancing act, and you know, we do the best we can in trying to balance that out.
Mr. Russell?
Yes, I think growth is inevitable, but I think what the city has a responsibility to do is to do that growth in a wise manner, thinking about the infrastructure and the city services. For example, are we giving away too much to developers? And should we really ask more from the developers instead of asking the taxpayers to pay for it?
Okay, next question, Mr. Russell, you're going to answer first. Do you support raising city taxes?
At the current time, I don't support raising city taxes as the first solution to balancing the budget. I think we can do a lot before we take that step of raising taxes.
Ms. Copeland?
That is a black and white question, which we are not prepared to answer in a black and white manner at this time. Since I've been on the city council, we have raised taxes and we have lowered taxes. Every year is unique. Every year is different. Every year we have different requirements and different unexpected things come up, such as the pandemic. So you have to be prepared to take care of these situations as they come up and be very face facts and you know, do what's necessary. But all of us, of course, want to keep that tax down as much as possible.
Next question, Ms. Copeland, you'll answer first. How do you propose to manage rental units, not single-family homes?
We have approved one such development in the city that is under construction at this time. This was approved by a very slim margin of 4-3. I was not in favor of that development. Since it was approved, I hope it is successful. There will be a rental company that will be handling all of those situations. But there was another request that came after that one that we did turn down. So, you know, we have to look at each situation on its own, look at the square footage that's, you know, the acreage that is in that land, and look at each one separately. Thank you.
Mr. Russell?
So again, kind of like the new development, I believe that what we have to do is require developers that are going to do rental units to adhere to a standard that is not going to drain our city resources, such as the fire and police department. And it is also not going to increase the traffic in areas where we can't afford it. So I think, you know, the city may need to look at new ordinances. They may need to look at new zoning, but we can control this as a city, and that's what we should do as a city council.
Okay, next question, Mr. Russell, you're going to answer first. To your knowledge, what veterans groups were contacted for the park design and relocation?
To my knowledge, there were no veteran groups contacted.
I'm not really sure how many, if any, groups were contacted. I know we've had quite a few discussions in different city council meetings as to the pros and cons of whether or not to move, you know, the facility. I think it will be a much more peaceful and lend itself to meditation. There won't be as much noise, traffic, etc. in the new location. So I would like to hear from more groups and more opinions on that, if anybody does have anything new to say about it.
Thank you. Ms. Copeland, you'll answer the next question. Do you feel city management is doing a good job?
I feel that city management is doing an excellent job. We've had so many wonderful things happen in Saginaw in the last few years. Our city manager is always making himself available to the residents if they have any questions. He instituted the Garage Gab program, where different neighborhoods can have meetings in their garages and invite their neighbors and learn more about the city. So yes, I do believe we have excellent management here in Saginaw.
Mr. Russell?
Well, as with all organizations, I think there's room for improvement. I think that the city manager would welcome comments and input from the city council as well as the voters of the city. And as a retired IBM executive, I think that I can bring some skills and mentoring capabilities to help out the city manager, whether that be the current one or the future, or the city manager in the future.
Next question will go to you, Mr. Russell, first. How would you describe the city's budget? How would you adjust the tax rate to not be a financial burden to the citizens?
So as I walked through the neighborhoods the last few weeks, the biggest thing that I kept hearing, the most common thing I heard was taxes. So I think if the city comes up with a firm budget, and when I say the city, I'm including the city council, when they come up with a firm budget, and then the Tarrant County Appraisal District comes up with their projected appraisals, the city can easily balance that budget. And if need be, we lower the tax rate per $100 value per home. But otherwise, you know, we have to work to a budget and work to be good stewards of that budget.
Ms. Copeland?
The budgeting process is a very complicated one. I think we look at that very hard every year. We have several mixed-use developments coming down in various stages of development, and the reason that will help our tax situation, that will attract some more businesses and sit-down restaurants and take some of the burden off of the taxpayers. Every year, as I mentioned before, we have different priorities. We have different needs that come up. And so we have to look at that individually every year, look at what the property appraisals are, and, you know, something that a lot of people don't know is back in the 90s, our tax rate was 68 cents per $100. I believe it's now 51 cents. And that's why we need these businesses. Thank you.
Okay. Next question, Ms. Copeland, you'll answer. What are the most critical issues facing your city, and what solutions can you offer?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, all of the road constructions we are undergoing at the time. These can be maddening. If you will just keep in mind that the end result will be something we can all appreciate. Balancing the growth with the services is another issue that will most likely require us to beef up our staff and, you know, make sure that we have enough people on our staff to take care of our residents.
Mr. Russell?
Yeah, so again, as I mentioned, as I walked through the neighborhoods, the tax rate was the number one thing I heard about. The number two thing I heard was public safety. That included the streets, that included our fire department, and that included our police department. So we have to protect those employees and the monies that we're providing them to do their job. You know, so part of the question was, what would I do? I think what I would like to do as a city council member is I'd like to entertain the fact that maybe we remove the TERS for developments already under development and use that money in the general fund to bring up the salaries of these critical resources.
Okay, next question to you, Mr. Russell. How would you balance growth versus density in your city?
Again, I think what we need to do is look at the open space that's left. Saginaw is practically built out. There's not that much open space left. So as city planners, as the city council makes these decisions against the recommendations from staff, we need to look at how that property is zoned. We need to look at infill, and that is, are we going to redevelop existing businesses, you know, like where Fire Station number 1 is. What are we going to do, and how are we going to do it with the best possible outcome in the future? That's what we should do.
Ms. Copeland?
Right now, our city is looking at all of the undeveloped parcels of land in the city, and we are undergoing a task of rezoning these parcels of land. And if those rezoning classifications are changed to neighborhood mixed use, that will do a lot to improve the density situation. There will be room for not one tract of land will not just be homes, it will be a mixture. So we will have green space, we will have trails. So, you know, that in and of itself will bring down that density.
Next question will go to you, Ms. Copeland. How will you encourage more involvement and diversity in local government?
Well, as I go around in the city and am involved in a lot of different activities in the city, and I attend practically every event that takes place in the city, I do speak to residents quite a bit. I do encourage them to get involved, to join the boards and commissions. You know, we need more participation in the city. I would like to see not the same people always being on all the boards and commissions, but get out there and really talk to people and encourage them to become involved.
Mr. Russell?
Yes, so again, referring back to walking and knocking on a lot of doors, it's been very, very interesting to talk to the people, and I think that's what I would do as a city council member. Instead of waiting for people to come to me, I would go to them. Yeah, I would go, if there's something on the city agenda, a particular proposal, reach out to those stakeholders, reach out to those residents, and go talk to them. My cell phone's on my election card, my email's on my election card, and I would be responsible to the constituents of the city as well.
And this will be the last question, Mr. Russell, to you. What will you do to ensure that all residents can enjoy a healthy, sustainable, and protected environment?
So this is a really interesting one, and I think we could do a lot in the city. There's a lot of smart people in the city, especially around public services. And so they could provide information about recycling. They could provide information about, you know, sustainable energy and things. Our police department already does a ton of work outside of their normal jobs with respect to, you know, educating children in the schools and citizens as well. And Lord knows our library does the same thing, and I think we can continue to do that throughout our different departments and just bring that out to the citizens, and that's what we should do in the future.
Ms. Copeland?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. I agree with Rick. I think our city's doing a great job in this area. We need to do a better job of informing the citizens what we're doing. We have the Texas Environmental Control Committee that, of course, has certain requirements that we have to follow. And we have a good staff that takes our water samples on a regular basis, and I think we're really doing a good job in that area.
All right, it is now time for closing statements. Mr. Russell, we will start with you, and you will have 3 minutes. Yes.
Okay, again, I'd like to thank everyone in attendance and those who are watching a replay or online. I'm for Saginaw, and I'm for the tax-paying citizens of Saginaw. If you're looking for someone to treat your tax money as if it were mine, then I'm your candidate. As I walk through your neighborhoods and talk to citizens, I promised I'd be available to listen, to visit, and be your voice as the candidate. If you're looking for someone who will research items brought before the council, do their homework, talk to the stakeholders, and form an unbiased opinion and vote accordingly, then I'm your candidate. Based on my background as a city council member, I am ready to utilize my skills for the betterment of Saginaw and its citizens. Thank you.
Ms. Copeland?
First, I'm going to brag about myself to show my dedication to my position on the city council. In the 6 years that I've been on city council, I have not missed any regularly scheduled meetings. So that shows my dedication. I would like to make this announcement in case people haven't heard about it, something we can be so proud of in our city. We were recently named one of 20 cities in the United States to be considered for All-American City. That decision will be made in June in Denver, and we will have a delegation of city leaders to go plead our case. But even if we don't win, just being one of the top 20 cities in the country is quite an honor. And for the rest of the time I have, I would like to describe what I believe a city council person job should be. And I jotted down quite a few, and when my time runs out, I'll have to stop. One, and these are not in order of importance, they're all equally important. 1, listen to residents. 2, be objective and make fact-based decisions. 3, study the issues. 4, be willing to speak up, even if you know you are the lone voice in your particular opinion. 5, educate the public. I try to do this in city council meetings whenever I have the opportunity, because there's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding about city government. 6, I would think that a city council person should attend as many city activities as possible and be active in the community. We should also act as a part of a team. And to me, the team consists of the city, the staff, Tarrant County College, Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District, Community Link, a variety of churches and organizations, and of course the citizens. I have 30 seconds, so I'll read these quickly. Be a positive voice, be a problem solver, look to the future in your decision making. Always make decisions that benefit the entire city. Be transparent, be flexible, be open to new ideas.
Thank you very much to both candidates. Please remember that early voting begins Monday, April 24th. You can check the county website at tarrantcounty.com/elections for early voting sites. Remember that Tarrant County has voting centers, which means you may vote at any polling location. Election day is Saturday, May 6th. We would invite all of you to visit our website, vote411.org, which has information on the races and issues on your ballot for all elections. Candidates are given the opportunity to provide written answers to questions to give you, the constituents, valuable information when you cast your vote. Thank you to all of you who came out this evening to hear your candidates, and thank you to the candidates for your participation this evening. The candidates will be available to speak with you personally if you wish after we adjourn. Good evening.